Hi, this is Matthias from mamoworld.com, and today we take a look at the random background shapes tool of automation blocks for After Effects. In particular, I show you how you can customize it to use your own shapes and your own colors to create individual backgrounds. So we want to create random background shapes, and there's one default example for this that comes with the examples of automation blocks. If I run this in my composition here, it gives me a dialog with all kinds of options, like how many shapes I want to have, their position range. So this is like the minimum and maximum X and Y position. Same for scale, rotation, and opacity. And then for each of these 50 shapes, one of these random values in these intervals will be picked. And by default, it looks like this. Now, you can see you've got here all kinds of shapes and all kinds of colors, and you can even customize those further if these are not the shapes you want. We've got some examples for this in our community library. So let me quickly delete this here and run this one here for sine waves, for example, which in the default settings looks like this. Or, and this is one we want to take a closer look at today, we run this one for stars in the sky, and this creates all these little star and circle shapes. And the cool thing is you can quickly play with different variants of this. So if you say these stars look cool, but they are a little bit too small for me, I delete it again, run it one more time and go to the scale, which at the moment each layer has between 10 and 50% scale, each of these shapes. Now you can say I want to go up to 150% maybe. And now you get a different variant where some of them are very small and others are very big. So you can see you can quickly play with different variants. This is really the power of this tool. So if you wonder how do you get the community library, you can look this up in the help of the tool. So here is the help of the tool itself. This gives you a help to the particular tool you currently have chosen here. And this one brings you to the help of the product, where you also find our community library. So the tool comes bundled with various examples, and in the community library we create and collect more and more of these exciting tools with the help of our community. But now let's see how you don't use the ready-to-use examples, but we want to start from the default one, which creates these heart shapes and other kinds of shapes and all kinds of colors, and how to customize it to end up with this example. So how do we turn this script into this one so that you can understand how you create your own variants with your own custom shapes. The only thing I prepared here so far is this sky elements shape layer, and if you take a look at it, it just contains two shapes, this star shape and this circle shape. These are the two shapes we want to use. And if you take a look at those and look for the passes, you can see that this is an ellipse path, and the other one is already a normal Bezier path. Yeah, the path is just one property, whereas here, this one has a size and a position instead of a path property. Yeah, but since our tool only works with path properties, the first thing we need to do is to right-click on it and say convert to Bezier path. So nothing changed except that now the path itself is a Bezier path instead of such an ellipse path. Okay, now we go to our default tool here, which I can show you again by default creates these kinds of shapes. And now we want it instead to create these stars and these circles here. So what we do is we go to the script code here. Let me make some more space. And this code, this is the main code. Yeah, here are just some comments, some explanation, link to a tutorial. And here is some more code hiding if we expand this block. But the main part of the code is really this one here. And this is a collection or a list of shapes. These are the shapes that the tool is using, and a list of colors. So these are the colors that the tool is using. And there are already some comments here which say, put all shapes you want to use in this list. And here, put all colors you want to use in this list. So if we want to use only white color, for example, for our stars, we can delete those. And we also don't want to keep these empty entries here. So we click here on this icon to change our list. And we just drag all of them to the side except the first one. Yeah. And now we say we want to have full white color. So we go to FFFFFF, which denotes a fully white color. Let's say you also want a yellow color in addition. If you decide this later, you can just take a second item, drag it here, to get a different list entry. Right click on this one, say duplicate, and now you enter here the hex code of the second color. So let's just use this color picker here to say we want to pick some kind of yellowish colors like this one, and here you find the hex code, so you can just copy this and hashtag and paste it, and now we've got this yellow color and the pure white color that we want to work with. With the shapes, it's effectively exactly the same. So we delete all shapes we don't want. We just have two shapes that we want to use, right? Namely the star here and the circle. So we just keep two in this list and throw away the other ones. And now we need to actually override those. To make sure you see what's happening, I first delete the content that's here. The content that's actually the shape that is stored here. All the vertices effectively of this shape are stored as a text here. And to choose a new one, what you do is you go to the path. Here's the path of the ellipse. You just select the property and click here, refresh. Now you can see new data has been inserted here, namely exactly the path of this ellipse that we selected here. Next, we want to use our star shape, which we've got here, and I click on this icon to load it into the second one. Okay, now let's see what's happening when we run our script. Again, we get our dialog with all these parameters, and we click on OK. And I can see it's using all those star shapes, and for each of them, it's picking either a white or this yellowish color. Okay, so this is really how easy it is. You really just need to update these two lists here. Here's a list of shapes that you want to use, and here the list of colors that you want to use. And then you can now go ahead and save this as a new file name to keep this in your tools library. If you want to say, I want to use these kinds of shapes more frequently, just save it under a new name, and then you can keep it as one of the tools in your tool library. If you wonder how to change also more details of those shapes, let's say you don't want to have a fill color, but you want to go have a stroke color or so, then you can go here into this code. So if you read the main code of the tool, it says first store in the variable shapes this list of shapes you want to use, then store in the list of in the variable colors this list of colors, and then execute the code create random shapes. And what this code actually is, the details of this are hidden here. So we can expand this block, and here it says to create random shapes, do the following things. And it does a lot of things. I don't want to scare you, just want to go over it very quickly in case you want to dive deeper. This is just loading default values that will be shown in the user interface from the settings. This will show the user interface, so this is a dialog where you enter all these different parameters. And this is saving everything you entered in the dialog again to the settings of After Effects. And the idea here is that the next time you enter values in this dialog, it will populate it with the values that you've used the last time. Yeah, this is just a convenient extra feature. And so all of this, starting from here to here, is just showing this dialog. And after that, it says it creates a new shape layer, and then it repeats something many times, num shapes times. This means if you decided to use 50 shapes, it will repeat everything that's in this green block here 50 times. And each time what it does is creating one shape. So here, this part of the code is creating the shape. And it does it as follows. It first creates a group where it puts the actual shape in, and then it adds the shape path. Yeah, and then it adds a shape fill. And now you can do additional things if you want. So if you say, I don't want to fill the shape with something, you can see it fills with normal blend mode, with all these different settings here, with specific opacity. And if you say, I don't want all of this, I want it to have not a fill, but you can just go here and say, I want to get a stroke instead. And you can see you can apply all kinds of different things to it. But we want to apply a stroke, and now this, which was before an option of the fill, was kicked out here effectively. This was the color we chose for the fill. And we went back to, if we go back to fill, this was docked in here. it says choose a random fill color from my a list of colors array. And if we say I want to go to stroke instead, then you just can put the color here, and now it will use a random color it chooses, not as a fill color, but as a stroke color. And then you can customize all these different things, like the width of the stroke. You can even add start and end lengths for the tapering. All these kinds of things can be customized here, okay? But again, the basic customization, just choosing the shapes and the colors, can be done here without diving into this other complex code too deeply. So this is really how easy you can customize the shapes you want to use in Automation Blocks Background Shapes tool. And this is, again, just one of many, many tools that are included in Automation Blocks. And I'm looking forward to see you in the next tutorial to show you even more what Automation Blocks can do.